Vancouver Jar. Good morning. Clear to land 268.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Mary Jordan, and on behalf of the Board of Directors and the Airport Authority team, I'd like to welcome you to our annual public meeting. 2014 was an exciting year at YVR. We saw a new aircraft with the 787 Dreamliner, service to new destinations, and significant progress on our capital program. The board approved two very ambitious plans that will guide YVR's future. The first is a new strategic plan, and the second is an environmental management plan, both of which you will hear more about. After today's presentations, we will turn the meeting over to you for your questions, comments, and suggestions. On today's agenda, Steve Hankinson will review our operational performance for 2014. Don Ehrenholtz will talk about our capital program. Glenn McCoy will present the financial statements for last year. Following Glenn, Anne Murray will speak about our involvement in the community and our work on air service development. Marion Town will present our environmental performance. And finally, Craig Richmond will talk about our strategy and the airport's next long-term development plan. As we did last year, we've invited 3 team members to talk about specific initiatives that they worked on in 2014. You'll hear from David Bradbeer, Nancy Baggio, and Linda Shewcroft. Before the presentations, I have some formal duties to perform. First, to announce that audio and visual recording devices are active. We are streaming live at yvr.ca, and after the meeting, we will post all these proceedings on our website. Second, it's my job to remind everyone that the Airport Authority is a private, not-for-profit corporation. There are no equity shareholders, so there are no monies distributed as dividends. All earnings are reinvested in the airport to deliver what is our fundamental mandate: to support our community by connecting BC proudly to the world. My third piece of official business is to formally present our 2014 annual report. The full report was published on our website April 30th, fulfilling our commitment to make the report available for your review in advance of today's meeting. Available in the room today is a summary that provides highlights from our annual report. If you want a printed version of the whole report, you can download it, or if you leave your name or give us a call, we will print and mail it to you. We welcome your feedback on our annual reporting so that each year we can improve our reporting to you. Now, before I introduce our first speaker, I would like to introduce the people responsible for the governance of the Airport Authority, our Board of Directors. Our 14-member board is made up of 9 directors appointed by outside organizations, 4 directors appointed by the board from the community at large, and our president and CEO, Craig Richmond, also sits on the board. In addition to Craig and me, the members of the board are George Cadman, an appointee of the Government of Canada. Joseph Caron is an appointee of the board chosen from the community at large. John Curry is the appointee of the Chartered Professional Accountants of British Columbia. And Anna Fung is the appointee of the Law Society of British Columbia. Ken Goosen is the appointee of the Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists of British Columbia. Howard Jampolsky is the appointee of the City of Richmond. Jerry Sinclair is an appointee of the board, chosen from the community at large, and Tamara Vrooman is the appointee of the City of Vancouver. In a minute, I'd like to recognize 2 directors retiring from the board later today, and 4 new directors, 1 already on the board, and 3 joining the board later today. Kush Panache is the other appointee from the federal government, and he joined the board in February. Wayne Wright is the incoming appointee of Metro Vancouver, and Ken Martin is the appointee of the Vancouver Board of Trade, and Annalisa King will serve as a director at large appointed by the board. I'd like to say a few words about those members of the board stepping down today. Both of them served with distinction and added value around our board table. Graydon Hayward is retiring from the board after 9 years as the appointee of the Vancouver Board of Trade. During that time, Graydon has been a valued member of our Finance and Audit Committee, serving for a number of years as chair of the committee. He also served on our Human Resources and Compensation Committee and a number of board task forces. In his role as chair of Finance and Audit, he has been an advocate for enterprise risk management, and I think he deserves credit for today's program, which is truly best practice. Peter Webster is also retiring from the board after 9 years of service. Peter was appointed to the board by the federal government. Peter has been a member of our Planning and Development Committee and served as chair of the Planning and Development Committee. He was a member of the Governance Committee and a number of board task forces, including the one established to oversee preparations for the 2010 Olympic and Paralympic Games. Peter was an engaged and thoughtful director and had a great ability to bring the community's perspective to all of our deliberations. Please join me in recognizing the contributions of our retiring directors, Graydon and Peter. Finally, I would like to recognize one more director, Brian Bentz. Brian spent 4 years on our board as the appointee of the Chartered Professional Accountants of BC. Brian resigned from the board last December due to illness, and 3 weeks ago, after a courageous fight, he lost his battle and passed away. Brian chaired our Planning and Development Committee, and he added value to every discussion, full of exceptional insight and an ability to see the big picture. We will miss him. Our thoughts have been with Brian's family and friends. Before I introduce Steve, I want to point out the 4 interactive displays we have here today. One on our environmental management plan, one on accessibility, one on the Designer Outlet Center, and finally, one on the master plan. If you didn't get a chance to visit them before the meeting, all of them will remain open with members of our team after this meeting ends. The master plan display will remain open until 8 p.m. so that those who could not be with us this afternoon will have a chance to visit this evening. I'd now like to welcome Steve Hankinson, Vice President, Operations and Information Technology, to present our 2014 operational results. Steve.
Thank you, Mary, and good afternoon, everyone. 2014 was a great year for YVR. 2014 was all about our ongoing story of growth and improving the airport for our passengers, our employees, and our communities. Since Vancouver Airport Authority assumed responsibility for managing YVR in 1992, total passengers have increased at an average growth rate of 2.6%. And in 2014, we welcomed a record 19.4 million passengers, a 7.7% increase over 2013. We saw over 273,000 takeoffs and landings on our runways from existing, new, and expanded air service partners. We also had significant floatplane and helicopter traffic. When these takeoffs and landings are added to those using the runways, the total was just over 310,000 aircraft movements. In addition, YVR's role as a cargo hub continued to grow. In 2014, we saw an increase in perishables shipped from BC Business to Canada and abroad, including salmon, cherries, gooey duck clams, and Dungeness crab. Over 256,000 metric tons of cargo moved through YVR, which is a 12.5% increase from 2013, the highest growth rate in over a decade. To capitalize on this strength, we set up a new company, Vancouver Airport Property Management, to redevelop and manage the facilities of the airport's cargo village. We're also working with industry to meet their services and facility needs, and are working with Canada Customs on cargo pre-clearance. To improve safety and operational efficiency, we completed the new Airside Operations Building in 2014. This building is home to our emergency response, airfield maintenance, and airside operation teams. It features a geothermal heating and cooling system, a rainwater collection system, solar panels, and a wind turbine to generate some of the electricity for the facility. The opening of the Airside Operations Building combined 5 functions in a single workspace, making it easier for the people who maintain the airfield and apron to collaborate and achieve greater efficiencies and swiftly address issues as they arise. We also increased the number of airfield specialists to ensure that we have a safe airfield. We improved our understanding of how customers interact and move through the various connecting, arrival, and departure processes. To do this, we launched a new YVR app. This app offers more functionality and information for customers to help them navigate YVR. As they move through the terminal, our customers no doubt noticed how our business partners in retail, services, and restaurants continued to provide a better experience. For instance, Plaza Premium completed extensive renovations to their lounge in the International Terminal. We opened another Plaza Premium in January in the AB connector. And I'm pleased to announce that our excellent retail offerings helped YVR take the position for the highest sales per enplaned passenger in North America. We remained committed to customer care, as demonstrated through our amazing Greencoat volunteers. In 2014, 470 Greencoats contributed almost 80,000 volunteer hours working in 33 different languages. And in November, our Greencoats celebrated 25 years of volunteer service at YVR. Some Greencoats have been in the program since the beginning, and I would now like to ask all Greencoats present to please stand up and be acknowledged. We thank each and every volunteer who helps to make YVR such a great airport. There are 24,000 people working on Sea Island who go beyond every day for our customers. Your phenomenal performance and the great job you do caring for our customers make YVR a world-class hub. So now that I've brought you up to the present day, I would like to give you an update on our summer runway maintenance program, as is our tradition. We are embarking on a 3-year construction program to build runway and safety areas, or RESA, at the end of the south and crosswind runways. These areas are being built to international safety standards to protect aircraft and passengers in the unlikely event of an overrun or an undershoot. As the map displays, the yellow circles represent the RESA areas under construction in 2015. The majority of construction will take place during the summer months to take advantage of dry soil. Our south runway will have nighttime closures through to the end of August as part of our summer construction. Details are available at yvr.ca. If you have any questions about this project, I encourage you to come and see me afterward. As I said at the beginning, airports are a large, complex business to operate, and the Airport Authority does not do it alone. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of our business partners, the airlines, ground handlers, government agencies, and retail and service providers for their continued contribution to caring for customers. It's all of us working together that makes YVR so successful. With that, I would like to introduce David Bradbeer, YVR's Wildlife Program Specialist.
Thank you, Steve. Our wildlife program is one of the most diverse programs we have here at YVR, and we're uniquely challenged by our location here on the Fraser River Delta. It's a haven for migratory birds, many of which overwinter here in our mild climate. And it's our team's job, we're tasked with maintaining aviation safety. It's us who keeps the birds and the planes away from each other. To do this, we use many techniques and a deep understanding of ecology to manage habitats and influence animal behavior. In doing so, we contribute to the conservation of the wildlife we share airspace with, and while unwavering in our primary commitment to aviation safety. Our team employs some of the latest tools and techniques in wildlife management. Our Raptor Trap and Translocation program is maturing into a successful example of conservation and safety. We move wild birds, hawks and owls, away from the airfield. Our falconry program, which uses trained birds of prey, has helped us to manage troublesome shorebirds during some of the most inclement winter storms. And our border collies patrol the ditches and infields with their handlers, convincing wary herons and persistent ducks that the airfield is not a safe place to be. All of these methods together are sophisticated and exciting and inspire intrigue within the traveling public and the traveling community at large. But the heart of our program is the combined passion of our wildlife management team. Over 20 biologists and technicians strive daily for operational excellence in aviation safety and wildlife management. Thank you. I'd now like to welcome Don Ehrenholz, Vice President of Engineering.
Thank you, David. As you noted, at YVR, our focus is on safety, our most important value. And before I get started, I'd like to thank everyone for working safely in 2014. Last year, we had a huge construction program, and we worked on several key projects to improve safety in and outside the terminal. The first project is the AB connector, a part of our 10-year gateway strategy that aims to keep YVR connected and competitive. For the past 20 years, we've been upgrading the domestic terminal building, originally built in 1968, to bring it up to today's earthquake codes and YVR standards. The AB connector continues this work, replacing the south end of the domestic terminal, as you can see in this diagram, shown in green. We completed the first phase of the AB connector during 2014 and opened the area for operation in January of this year. It includes a new retail street, new food court, new Plaza Premium Lounge, larger hold rooms, and new aircraft loading bridges. YVR's award-winning sense of place is visible throughout the AB connector, with a design that celebrates BC's interior. This space features the Rivers Monument, a contemporary art piece by Marianne Nicholson that tells the story of the Fraser and Columbia Rivers. The project engineering team shown in this photo are currently working on Phase 2, set to be completed later in 2015. This phase includes seismic upgrades, mechanical and electrical upgrades, new washrooms, and new finishes, all while minimizing the impact on airline operations and passengers. We also continued work on the Expedited Transfer Facilities project, another key initiative in our gateway strategy that improves connecting times for our passengers. It includes new corridors to connect passengers arriving in the AB connector and in Pier C to the Customs Hall and the Satellite Customs Hall for transfer passengers. This will allow these gates to also switch from international to domestic operations to allow the airlines to be more efficient. The Expedited Transfer Facilities project also includes a high-speed baggage system, starting from the AB connector and extending all the way to the International Terminal building. When it's completed in 2016, the Expedited Transfer Facilities will connect over 25 kilometers of existing bag systems together and ensure that an average of 60,000 bags a day can move from any part in the terminal to their end goal in under 30 minutes. The combination of these connecting corridors and high-speed bag systems will reduce connecting times for our transferring passengers at YVR to under an hour, greatly improving the passenger experience. Projects like AB Connector and the Expedited Transfer Facilities project don't just improve customer experience, they also produce good, skilled jobs. As of January 2015, over 1.1 million hours of work was completed on the AB Connector project, which translates into an average of 190 jobs a day during the past 3 years. On average, we also employed 145 people per day for the past 2 years on the Expedited Transfer Facilities project. In addition, there are many spin-off jobs associated with these projects, including design consultants, security, delivery, and the jobs that will be created once these projects are put into service. We've also been working with the Canadian Border Services Agency to make our border safer and more efficient. During 2014, we worked with the agency to improve the process for international passengers transferring to domestic flights. We began handling 2 international flights using this new program, which will allow transfer passengers to enter Canada without having to collect their bags at YVR before transferring on to their next destination. We received very positive feedback from passengers and airlines and are planning to increase the number of flights in the program during 2015. Behind the scenes, we have specialized maintenance teams that take care of our electrical infrastructure to ensure everything runs safely. During 2014, we upgraded our electrical safety program for our maintenance teams and the many contractors that work at the airport. This included enhanced safety inspections of all of our existing infrastructure, safety training, and new protective gear for our crews. It also included much more vigorous checks on our electrical contractors to ensure the highest quality installations and the safest work practices. We also completed work on a number of projects outside the terminal to keep our airport infrastructure safe and in top shape. We replaced all of the runway lights on the north runway with new LED fixtures that will last longer and are far more power efficient. This picture shows our maintenance team electricians replacing runway lights last October. They work as a team with assembly line precision, enabling them to replace up to 200 lights a night. I'd like to thank our YVR team for their exceptional work on these projects and for keeping our airport critical systems running 24/7. I'd also like to thank our airline partners for their patience during our construction in the terminal, as well as our architectural and engineering design consultants and all of our contractor partners. Now I'll turn the floor over to one of my team members, Nancy Baggio, Manager of Engineering Planning.
Thanks, Don. As you just heard, we have an impressive list of projects, and a lot of planning goes into determining just what we need to be building or expanding to ensure that YVR will always meet our future demand. And that's where the planning team comes in. Whether we're contemplating a gate expansion, new baggage systems, or customs processing, our efforts are essential in ensuring that we get it right. What you see playing behind me is an example of a simulation model that we've built that helps imitate the operation of YVR. With this tool, we can predict the flow of passengers, bags, and planes through the airport, given a various set of inputs. Simulation modeling is the perfect application for airport planning because, as you all know, the airport is a very dynamic environment with many factors that can influence our operation. At the planning stage, it's really critical to be able to ask, what if? And using these tools gives us an excellent way to confidently respond to those questions. For example, we can use simulation to determine how much taxi time or fuel we could save if we built a new taxiway. Or we can contemplate how new carriers, new aircraft, or new routes will affect our terminal at peak hours. We can build many variations of our model to represent the designs and concepts under consideration. And that's where the planning magic really happens, when we get to collaborate with our colleagues and business partners to determine what the future might hold. And with a virtual airport, we can put those futures to the test under any number of scenarios. This is an extremely exciting time to be involved in airport planning. As we breach the 20 million passenger mark, this terminal is getting near capacity. In 2015, our efforts will inform the next big phases of development, help point us in the right direction, and ensure the future YVR is even better than today. Thank you. I would now like to introduce Glenn McCoy, Senior Vice President, Finance and Chief Financial Officer.
Thank you, Nancy, and good afternoon. I'll be presenting the highlights of our 2014 non-consolidated financial statements, which cover the Airport Authority's activities at YVR. So the Authority earns revenue from three main sources. The first source is aeronautical revenue in the form of landing and terminal fees, collected to recover the costs related to airline operations. This revenue amounted to $126 million in 2014, up from $121 million in 2013. In 2011, the Airport Authority introduced the Gateway Incentive Program, a 5-year program that freezes total aeronautical charges at 2010 levels, regardless of actual levels of landed weight and aircraft capacity. The increased revenue in 2014 came from capacity increases and a 3% rate increase for the carriers who did not participate in the Gateway Incentive Program. The second source is non-aeronautical revenue, which includes revenue from concessions, such as duty-free stores and car rentals, car parking, and land and terminal rents. Revenue from these sources increased to $210 million in 2014, up from $190 million in 2013, due mainly to the sale of automated passport control, or APC kiosks, increases in concession revenue, including duty-free, and parking revenue. To help fund capital projects, the Airport Authority collects the Airport Improvement Fee, or AIF. Total revenue earned from the AIF in 2014 was $129 million, up from $122 million in the previous year, due to strong passenger growth. In summary, the total revenue earned from these three sources in 2014 was $465 million, with 45% coming from non-aeronautical revenue, part of the Airport Authority's strategy to keep AIF rates and airline charges low. Turning to expenses, a portion of non-AIF revenue goes towards covering airport operating costs. We spend money on items such as safety and security, maintenance, cleaning, customer care, salaries, natural gas, insurance, as well as payments to local governments. In 2014, these costs increased by $20 million, from $149 million to $169 million. The increase is mainly due to the cost of APC kiosks sold to other airports, terminal repair and maintenance, marketing, customer care, and utilities. The Airport Authority also uses a portion of its revenue to pay ground lease rent to the federal government. In 2014, the rent increased by $5 million to $47 million. This was due to increased revenue, as the rent is determined as a percentage of revenue. Debt financing is required when the total cash needed to pay for capital projects during any year exceeds the amount of cash available after payment of operating costs or ground lease and interest costs. The Airport Authority takes a conservative approach to debt levels and strives to achieve a reasonable balance between debt and sources of revenue. We currently have $550 million of debt, long-term debt, and last year we did not incur any short-term borrowings. Debt carries interest payments, which in 2014 amounted to $32 million, unchanged from the previous year. As required under generally accepted accounting principles, the cost of capital projects is spread over their useful life as opposed to being recognized as the cash paid each year during construction. This is reflected as amortization on the statement of operations. Total amortization in 2014 amounted to $120 million, up from $111 million in 2013, as new projects, which Don and Steve noted, came into service. In 2014, the Airport Authority received just under $2 million in dividend revenue from our subsidiary Vantage, as well as realizing just under $1 million in foreign exchange gain. The Airport Authority also realized just under $2 million of partnership income from the entities created to hold various Sea Island tenant buildings, focused mainly on cargo. The net effect of these items is the $4 million of income you see here. The total excess of revenue over expenses was $102 million in 2014, up from $98 million in the previous year, due principally to increased revenue from the sale of APC kiosks and increased concession revenue. When we adjust our excessive revenue over expenses to a cash basis, we add back amortization, which is a non-cash expense. In 2014, the Airport Authority generated $215 million of cash flow prior to investment in capital projects, which is made up of the two amounts shown here: $91 million of net cash flow from operations, plus $124 million net of collection costs from the AIF. During 2014, the Airport Authority invested $278 million of cash in capital projects. This results in a net use of $62 million of cash during the year. When added to the $162 million of cash we had at the beginning of the year, this leaves $100 million of cash available at year-end, which will be used to fund projects in 2015 and future years, all part of the $1.8 billion 10-year capital plan. The Airport Authority remains very strong financially, one of only 2 airports in the world with a AA credit rating. Our economic health is one of the biggest reasons why we are able to continually invest in our facilities, deliver world-class customer care programs, and drive marketing efforts to grow the business. Thank you. I'm now pleased to introduce Linda Shewcroft, Manager, Innovative Travel Solutions.
Thank you, Glenn. I'm pleased to be here today to talk to you about one of YVR's key values, innovation. At YVR, we innovate to improve the customer experience. For instance, in 2008, we collaborated with Canada Border Service Agency to develop automated border clearance kiosks. This significantly reduced the wait time for returning Canadian residents. Shortly after launching these kiosks, it soon became apparent that we were addressing a North American problem. This led to the creation of automated passport control kiosks, or Border Express. We developed these in close partnership with U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Border Express can be used by U.S. and Canadian passport holders, lawful permanent residents, and travelers from 38 visa waiver countries. They automate the administrative function of border control and do not require advanced registration or fees. In December, we made history with the launch of our Border Express kiosks at Queen Beatrix International Airport at the island of Aruba. This marked the first time a self-service border control technology has been made available to travelers at an international airport with U.S. preclearance. To date, there have been over 40 million travelers who have safely and securely used our kiosks to clear the border. We have now sold over 600 of these kiosks across 21 airports in North America and internationally. What's more is that any profit that is generated from the sale of these kiosks are reinvested right back into YVR. It truly is a win-win situation. As we look ahead, the Innovative Travel Solutions team will turn our attention to new markets and new opportunities. We will continue to deliver our safe, customer-focused solution while exporting YVR's excellence to the rest of the world. Thank you, and now I would like to turn it over to Anne Murray, Vice President of Marketing and Communications.
Well, thank you, Linda. I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to share our updates on community relations and air service expansions. To start, I want to acknowledge what a fantastic year 2014 was for YVR. We saw more passengers than ever before, amazing new aircraft, and added to our growing list of exciting destinations. Last year marked the arrival of the exceptional Dreamliner aircraft. In fact, we dubbed 2014 the year of the Dreamliner in its honor. This customer-friendly airplane provides an excellent passenger experience with less community noise and fewer emissions. Japan Airlines was the first to introduce the Dreamliner aircraft into service from YVR on their long-standing route to Tokyo's Narita Airport. This was followed by China Southern, who started using the Dreamliner on their flights to Guangzhou. And then Air Canada introduced the aircraft on their Shanghai route, and they're now operating it also on flights to Beijing, Seoul, and Tokyo Narita. But it wasn't just new aircraft types. We also had new destinations and new airlines. We were very, very pleased to welcome All Nippon Airways to YVR. We're actually the first airport in Canada that ANA is flying to. And they started new service that connects travelers from Vancouver to downtown Tokyo, the Haneda Airport. Iceland Air was another new exciting airline and a new destination in Reykjavik, with great onward connections to Northern Europe. Closer to home, Air Canada Rouge started brand new service to Palm Springs and Phoenix. They also commenced Rouge operations to Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Anchorage, San Francisco, Honolulu, and Maui. And WestJet introduced Fort McMurray as a new destination and extended the Palm Springs service to year-round. They also increased frequencies, building on the successful launch of the WestJet Encore service. While we connect the community to the world through air travel, we also work really hard to build our local connections. For instance, our popular school tour program was back in 2014. We had about 1,500 students participate in field trips where they come out to the airport, they learn about safety, our sustainability initiatives, and customer care. And demand for the airport tours was so high that we expanded the program to include year-round guided tours of the airport for community groups. Last year, we had 27 organizations, totaling about 800 people, including seniors, children with disability, English as a second language students. Not only did we welcome people to the airport, we also went out into the community, connecting with people in their own neighborhoods. We participated in 16 different community festivals around the Lower Mainland and attended additional events in Kamloops, Kelowna, and Victoria. At these festivals, we had YVR community ambassadors on site, answering questions, and sharing the airport story in a fun and interactive way. We also delivered a province-wide Speakers Bureau program. As British Columbia's airport, we want to engage businesses and organizations we serve outside the Lower Mainland as well. Through this speaking tour, we shared our vision with communities ranging from Williams Lake, Fort St. John, to Prince George, and the Comox Valley. And through our community investment program, we partnered to deliver many excellent initiatives. In 2014, Vancouver Airport Authority donated over $900,000 to 76 community causes, including the Richmond Maritime Festival, Quest Food Exchange, and the United Way. For example, we hosted the kickoff event for the Great Canadian Shoreline Cleanup, and as the provincial sponsor, we brought more than 250 YVR volunteers out to the Iona Beach, which is right here beside the airport. And we continue to support the good works of the YVR Art Foundation, providing scholarships to First Nations artists from around British Columbia. The art creations by these young artists are then displayed right here in the terminal. In 2014, the YVR Art Foundation expanded their offerings to include a masterpiece study initiative, as well as scholarships for mid-career professionals. So we connect directly with the communities we serve through programs like these, and we continue to work hard to connect British Columbia proudly to the world by growing our air services. As a community-based organization, it's really important to our success that we continue to create these great connections. Thank you. I'd now like to introduce Marion Town, our Director of Environment.
Thank you, Anne. Let's pause for a moment and take in our surroundings. Here we are in the heart of the Fraser River estuary, where the river and mountains meet the sea. Step inside the terminal, and you'll find a very intentional reflection of the landscape and our architectural design features. The colors, patterns, and atmosphere of BC's sea, sky, and land transformed into girders and lighting and carpets. In the same way that our interior space reflects the beauty of BC, so too does our organization reflect the values of our surrounding communities, perhaps most in how we treasure and protect our environment. We are inspired by this vibrant landscape and take responsibility to manage this space very seriously. David spoke earlier about managing wildlife to ensure the safety of our passengers. In addition to that excellent work, our team at the airport undertook a number of important environmental initiatives in 2014. At the top of the list, YVR's Board of Directors adopted a bold new environmental management plan with daring targets that set a clear sightline for improvement over the next 5 years. The first target is to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 33% by 2020. To start on this target, we encourage our employees to use green transportation to get to and from work. To reduce curbside idling, we opened a cell phone waiting lot, which offers drivers complimentary parking for 30 minutes while waiting for passengers. And we continue to right-size our vehicle fleet, retiring, electrifying, and improving the fuel efficiency of our vehicles. Last year, we widened and improved the cycling lanes on the Arthur Lang Bridge. For cyclists, this was an important safety improvement and a critical upgrade to the region's remarkable network. For YVR, this meant another step in creating a bike-friendly airport. I'm happy to report that CNN Travel also took notice and included YVR on their 2014 list of best airports for cycling. The next target in our ambitious plan is to reduce potable water use by 33%. We take this challenge very seriously. The use of rainwater, as we have in our new airside operations building for use in washrooms, to wash trucks, and for fire protection, is one way of helping us to reach our goal. We're equally committed to safeguarding the water around us. We regularly measured water quality in 2014, taking over 680 samples from around Sea Island. We are keenly aware of our location in the Fraser and have excellent management systems in place to protect against contamination. Our new environmental management plan also aims to reduce our waste going to landfill by 50% by 2020. We appreciate your involvement in 2014 as we trialed new compostable waste bins in our International Food Court. And we're proud of the progress our food and beverage retailers have made in taking the same challenge on in their kitchens. Thanks to our construction contractors, we recycled 93% of our construction waste materials from projects. We lead by example, and I believe that by instilling a no-waste attitude into YVR's culture, it's a great place to start. This culture of care is essential to achieving the final target in our environmental management plan, improving Sea Island's ecosystem health by meeting and beating regulatory standards. Our team is on a continuous search for best environmental practices, and we work with our partners to reduce our impact and add value. For example, YVR's Environmental Advisory Committee provides critical input into our system of care and planning. With regular meetings and site visits from a committee of citizens, representatives from government, and environmental groups, they are important voices that contribute to the health of our ecosystem. Before closing, I would like to talk about another important aspect of environmental management, which is noise. We're happy to report that early this year, the Minister of Transport accepted our 2014 to 2018 Noise Management Plan. The Noise Management Plan identifies ways YVR can reduce the impact of aircraft noise on our neighbours through implementation of an action plan addressing ways to reduce noise from aircraft, communicate with individuals and communities, and work with industry on innovative approaches. More information on our noise results is available in our 2014 annual report, located on our website. Environmental excellence is clearly what we're striving towards at YVR, And together with you, we're building a strong community of support to ensure we continue to improve the airport while protecting the environment. Thank you. I'd now like to introduce our President and Chief Executive Officer, Craig Richmond.
Well, thank you, Marion. I think we had a dissatisfied customer back there somewhere. Clearly, our ops team is dealing with it. And thank you for your snapshot on our environmental plan. I think your presentation has shown how committed we are to improving our little corner of this spectacular environment. And thank you all for being here, and thank you for showing such strong interest in YVR. Now that we've heard from all our speakers, I need to acknowledge a big win that the entire YVR community collectively earned. YVR was once again voted the best airport in North America at Skytrax Awards, the first time that any airport in any category has won 6 straight. I think that deserves a round of applause. But please don't think we're clapping for ourselves. This award is won by the 24,000 people who work on Sea Island. You have once again demonstrated our commitment to excellence. I would also like to recognize our airline partners who are waiting with bated breath to see if they've won Skytrax Awards as well, and I wish them good luck. To honor these people and their dedication, we've started a new program called YVR Stars. It's monthly recognition given out to Sea Island employees and volunteers who demonstrate exceptional service from every business on the island. It's our employees who live the values of safety, teamwork, accountability, and innovation. These values are part of everything we do at YVR, from reducing our environmental footprint to improving customer care. And as we live these values, our list of awards keeps growing. For instance, BC Business and Ipsos Reid recently announced YVR as the 5th most loved brand in BC. We were also named a Dream Employer at the 2nd Annual Dream Employer Awards in BC, and we made the BC Top Employer list for 9 years in a row. In 2014, the Fairmont Vancouver Airport Hotel was awarded the best airport hotel in North America for the 2nd time. We also garnered 2 more interesting awards. In 2014, Bloomberg News called YVR the least frustrating airport in North America. It's a backhanded compliment, but I'll take it. And we were named one of the top 10 airports in the world in which to grab some shut-eye by sleepingairports.net. I'll try to keep this interesting so those in the audience aren't tempted to see if that's true. As our trophy shelf grows, it's important to resist being complacent. Rather, we should reflect on why we win. Let's think like our competitors, who must be saying, how does YVR keep winning all these Skytrax awards? Well, the answer is at the same time very simple and very tricky. We have an exceptional foundation, which we never forget, but we're also never satisfied with the status quo. And at the base, we have an excellent safety culture. We start every executive and board meeting with a safety review, and we know that this permeates through the entire organization. We also build on our strong foundation through ongoing and rigorous planning, a recurring theme of my talk today. In 2014, we developed a new strategic plan. It's a foundation for our objectives and initiatives, and this plan provides the fundamental direction for our organization. It's a 5-year plan that could really be summed up by 2 words: grow sustainably. Our plan states that we are aiming to grow to 25 million passengers by 2020. Yes, this is an audacious goal, but as Marion said, it gets better. At the same time as we're growing by 1 million passengers a year, we're going to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 33%. So it's a serious and audacious goal. Why is this exciting? Because the 5 million extra passengers we plan to add by 2020 will add between 5,000 and 7,000 jobs and up to $500 million in additional GDP to the BC economy. As we build on our foundation, we'll continue our excellent community presence, as Anne noted. You also heard from Glenn about our strong physical position, which is another key aspect of our foundation. And as Steve and Don pointed out, we are working to maintain and improve the physical aspects of our airport and our customer service. Nancy described it starts with planning, and David showed we must always strive for operational excellence, such as in wildlife control. Our most important asset by a wide margin is our engaged and creative team. They're very safe, they're accountable, and very, very innovative. In fact, innovation is one of the things that sets us apart. One quick example among many is YVR's Test Flight program, an internal crowdfunding initiative that we started in 2014. It's similar to Kickstarter. Test Flight encourages employees to come up with practical and creative ideas to solve everyday work problems, try out customer service ideas, or improve the business, and it gets all employees to vote on which idea they want to fund. From improving runway lighting maintenance to putting wheels on ladders, the program promotes creativity, which ensures that we stay ahead of the competition. We constantly review every part of the customer's journey through the airport. We're part of the great innovation called the Canada Line, and we recently invented a new way to get through Canadian and U.S. immigration faster through the Border Express kiosk that Linda described. We're always looking for innovative ways to generate non-aeronautical revenue, which helps run the airport and keep costs low. In January 2014, we broke ground for the MacArthur Glen Designer Outlet Centre, Vancouver Airport, BC's first luxury shopping centre. Phase 1 will feature 600 new jobs with an additional 400 in Phase 2. And I'm thrilled to report that the grand opening of the MacArthur Glen Designer Outlet Centre will be in the first 2 weeks of July. I can't give you the exact date because it's part of MacArthur Glen's marketing strategy related to the big reveal. They are, after all, the experts in luxury outlet centers in Europe, having opened over 20. But I can guarantee you that you'll be shopping at the Designer Outlet Center by July 15th, 2015, enjoying year-round savings of up to 70% on designer items. And let me tell you what's really exciting. We expect to have 70% of Phase 1 leased at opening, and some of the luxury brands that will be there include Armani, Hugo Boss, Cole Haan, and Coach, with many more still to come. I'm also excited that I'll be able to have an espresso at a favorite Vancouver coffee shop, Cafe Artigiano. The centre itself is an open-air village styled to Vancouver, paying special tribute to well-known neighbourhoods like Yaletown and Gastown. And of course, there will be a featured First Nations art piece you can look at, a representation outside. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the most spectacular shopping area in Canada. Our associates at Vantage Airport Group have continued to market our combined expertise, operating philosophies, and leading-edge systems to the world. In 2014, Vantage put in an excellent bid to rebuild LaGuardia Airport's central terminal building. We're eagerly anticipating the announcement of the successful bid, which we expect later this month. Another key objective is continuing to deliver remarkable customer experiences. I'm pleased to report that in 2014, YVR received a 91% satisfaction rating from our customers for the second year in a row. One way we achieve this is through barrier-free initiatives, now known as universal access. We pioneered universal access at airports and have incorporated accessible features into all of our construction since the Airport Authority took over management of YVR in 1992. We work with consultants of all abilities to see our airport from many aspects. In 2014, we invited 28 families living with autism to participate in our Accessibility Tour, a new initiative we put together in partnership with the Canucks Autism Network Society, Air Transat, and the Canadian Air Transport Security Authority. As you can see in this video, families were able to practice arriving at the airport, checking in, going through passenger screening, and boarding an aircraft. I received an email recently from a participant's mother. She said, "Without this experience, our flight to Mexico at Christmas time could have been a disaster. Thanks to the program and everyone involved, it made a new experience easier to deal with and opened up our world." I was touched and really proud of our airport team because this shows the value of closely working with communities to understand their needs, make their experience at YVR positive, whatever obstacles might first appear. Now, with that, I'd like to take you back for a couple of minutes to show the importance of planning for the future and how well that philosophy has served us. To give some perspective, I present the early years of YVR planning, one of our key strengths from the past that we've carried forward today. Back when most of you weren't around, the YVR you know today was just a vision. In 1946, William Templeton drew where the north runway would be in pencil. Now, I know that some of our recent hires at YVR may think I was there personally, but I assure you that was not the case. It turns out that Mr. Templeton wasn't very far off. He put the north runway almost exactly where it is today, and it opened in 1996, 50 years later. Shows you need both a vision and a realistic plan, one that can span decades. Pictured is the Metropolitan Airport Plan, YVR's blueprint from 1946. It's sprinkled with intriguing phrases such as the airplane is a new form of transportation, which shows you how far we've come. Here's a map from the plan which shows potential airport locations, including a proposed major Sea Island airport. And while the other locations never came to fruition, the point is that YVR's founders anticipated growth and expansion and envisioned a connecting hub and planned for the future. Many plans were implemented by Transport Canada in the intervening decades, including the studies that supported that absolutely vital north runway. And then in 1992, the Airport Authority came into being. In 1993, we generated our first strategic plan, the North Star, which said that YVR should become a premier intercontinental and North American gateway, and showed how to do it. Now let's leap forward to Forum 44, which was our master plan consultation in 2004. Pictured here is the forum we constructed right where we're sitting now. During this consultation, we asked our stakeholders how we could improve the airport. The input we received focused on economic growth balanced with environmental and social responsibility. We also received feedback that terminal design needed to be improved and made more accessible to our many customers, advice that we have taken to heart. It's time for us to do this once again. So today we are launching our newest master plan consultation called YVR 2057. This plan will inform our future land use and how we'll meet the needs of our stakeholders and our communities. Although the detailed land use plan covers a 20-year period out to 2037, we're looking out 40 years. That's why today we're talking to you about the future, because we're looking far ahead, just as we did in the past. And this forecasting is a key component to developing the master plan. Our goal is to ensure that YVR can serve our growth while continuing to connect British Columbians proudly to the world, and we can do all of this while meeting our sustainability targets. To fully develop this vision and what's needed, we're seeking your input throughout the next few years. We have several separate phases of consultation and many different opportunities for you to get involved. To connect with you, our community and stakeholders, we have launched YVR 2057's website and our interactive community displays today. I hope you had a chance to see these displays on your way in. It'll be the centerpiece of our festivals and our consultations this summer. So the master plan consultation is underway, and while we get your input, we'll continue aiming for the targets and goals in our strategic plan. This plan envisions YVR as a gateway between Asia and the Americas. It also emphasizes our commitment to sustainability, a key objective noted by our stakeholders 10 years ago. To be this leader in sustainability, we have to continue to strive for excellence under our 4 pillars of economic, environment, social, and governance. But being sustainable also means remaining competitive. And staying competitive for YVR means becoming a true international connecting hub, flowing people and cargo across the world. To achieve this, we're working on new transit connections and processes, such as full international transit without visa. Transit without visa means that passengers aboard international flights that connect through YVR en route to another international destination don't need Canadian visas. You've heard me talk about this before, and I agree the name for this is clunky and not very sexy. So I think the best way I can explain it or illustrate it is to talk about what happens at other airports. And if you've flown there, you've already seen it. This occurs every day in Heathrow, Schiphol, Dubai, Singapore, and Hong Kong. You see people arrive from all sorts of countries, have a bite to eat, shop, rest, and then head out to other countries, never having technically set foot in the country through which they're transiting. That's it. The regulatory details are very complex and are taking some time to finalize, but the results are fantastic. Commerce and leisure both benefit hugely in the cities in which this occurs. It opens new markets for everyone, whether it's businesses selling BC spot prawns to restaurants in Sao Paulo, international students coming to our universities, or business people from Shanghai and Vancouver meeting in Mexico City. With expanded transit without visa in place in a few years, we could easily add 10 new destinations into the U.S., Central, and South America, destinations we would not otherwise get. This photograph shows a rocket constructed by the Sheet Metal Workers Union for their float in the 1936 P&E Parade, just 5 years after YVR opened. I cannot certify the aerodynamic qualities of this design. You can see a copy actually sitting at the corner of Cambie and 2nd, but the original rocket used to sit at the entrance to the old Sea Island terminal. Back when planes were still new, the rocket boldly looked ahead, pointed to the sky. It had a vision, look ahead, based on a plan advanced with aviation. What great, bold ideas from 1936, 79 years ago, a year before the first working jet engine. I believe that these bold ideas still hold true for YVR, and I'm asking for your participation as we look ahead and advance aviation at YVR. I think Mr. Templeton would approve. And that concludes my talk today. I'd like to thank our existing airline partners who provided both a strong foundation and exceptional growth in 2014, and our new airline partners who made the decision to invest in our airport. I'd also like to sincerely thank all our employees, even those ones in the back who are too afraid to come up here and sit, our customers, our communities, and our community-based board of directors. You all play an integral role in making YVR a world-class airport. It's truly a team effort, and I look forward to our continued success in the exciting years ahead. Thank you. The executive team and I would now be happy to take any questions.
Hi there.
Hi.
My name is Wayne Beggs. I'm here on behalf of the Consumers Association of Canada.
Hi, Wayne.
Hi. We just have a couple of small things that we wanted to talk about, and then perhaps one larger thing. The small things have to do with some of the accessibility elements that you talked about. We've received some messages in about some of those. In particular, some of the uneven pavement in the areas connecting the old terminal to the parking facility, and that folks have been having trouble getting through some of those areas. A second piece relates to the availability of seating in the baggage areas in the domestic terminal, so that folks with mobility challenges have a place to sit down. And then the overall policing of mobility challenged seats that are available in various parts of the terminal, and ensuring that those are available for those folks that truly need them. The second point I wanted to just talk about briefly is in your description, Ms. Jordan, of the overall structure of the board. It was apparent to me that there's not necessarily within it a clear place for provincial input into this, and I'm not thinking so much of the provincial government, but more the rural communities of British Columbia. I think Ms. Town had mentioned that, or perhaps it was.
I think it was Ms. Murray.
Ms. Murray, yes, sorry. I had mentioned the fact that there was an ongoing effort to try and engage those communities, but I wonder if there's not an opportunity to have some of those communities represented within your board structure. And I guess what that might relate to is overall ensuring that the economic development potential of the airport is available to the rest of the province. And in particular, it would be in relation to the overall fees that are charged and how those could play a role in hampering economic development elsewhere in the province because of the vital importance of air travel to those communities and their economic development. So I'll stop there.
Well, thank you. I just made some notes. First of all, on the accessibility issues, thank you very much for pointing those out. If you can stick around till a little bit after, I'll hook you up with Dawn, and we'll note those. We're not perfect. We have to keep working, and especially in the areas you talked about, the uneven pavement. Of course, that terminal goes back to 1968, and we're always catching up on some of the code issues. But I appreciate that, and especially the seating and the policing of seats as well. So maybe it would be good to talk to Steve and Dawn after if you have the time. As far as board governance go, perhaps I'll pitch that to Mary in terms of the structure, except I would point out that we have started to go out to communities to talk to them. And actually, it's very well received. And I would point out that there's only one other airport set in Canada that has kept their AIF at $5 between Regina and Saskatoon. And out of this airport, it's still $5 to fly to anywhere in BC. Every other airport, it's the regular AIF across Canada. So, Mary, would you like to talk about governance?
Sure, Craig, thanks. And thank you very much for, I think, some great questions and insights. In terms of board representation, it's very interesting. You raised the point of directors who maybe come from different parts of the province and a bit of a broader representation. Actually, that has been on our list of things that we are actively interested in seeking in the future. I mentioned that we have 4 directors who are appointed from the community at large. By community, I really mean that in the broadest possible sense. And so we have on our list, as well as other types of diversity to add to our board, the fact that we could strengthen our board certainly by having directors who have experience in other parts of the province. So thank you for that. And certainly the board supports the management team's I think, great efforts to reach out, go to other communities, and talk about YVR, given that we really are the gateway for the province, and we want to be very aware of the other communities that we serve.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is David Gregg.
Welcome.
And thank you. I'm a member of the Vancouver community. And actually, I'd just like to congratulate yourself and your staff for your emphasis on sustainability and environmental programs. I know this isn't new. I know that you've been conscious of this for a number of years. But now I'm actually seeing the talk converted into action. So kudos to you. Wonderful. I particularly want to focus on one issue, and that is of access to the airport by cyclists. And you actually pointed out, I think actually Mariam pointed out, the improvements to the Arthur Lang Bridge. My wife and I cycled here this afternoon, and we felt quite comfortable because of those new improvements. And we're basically saying, please carry on doing what you're doing and more. Of course, I wouldn't ignore the opportunity to ask for one request. Accessing along to the airport connector bridge from the south, from Larryberg Park and so on, I think there's a great need for improvements for cyclists in that area, particularly at the intersection of Miller Road and Russ Baker Way. It's an absolute nightmare for cyclists. I know there's a huge emphasis these days on security and safety and protection of the public. That area represents a huge risk for cyclists. And if you're going to achieve a higher level of sustainability, given that you've got 24,000 people, I think that's a figure, working at the airport, simple calculation of 5% on by bike to the airport, that's 1,200 people coming by bike are not using their cars. So there's a great need, and I think there's a wonderful opportunity because on the east side of Russ Baker Way, the Family Center for Autism has been set up. They have built a new path. You have a path on Burkeville and to the park. It's such an easy connector via the fire hall. I think you could go a long way because the community is noticing what you're doing for cyclists. And once again, thanks for the work you're doing and for actually speaking about sustainability and putting it into action.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for coming here by bike. I know we did some work in the Miller Road, Russ Baker Way last year. Again, if you can stick around till afterwards, maybe you could give some of your ideas to Don. I see him frantically scribbling away, and he probably already has a plan. So I appreciate that, and thank you for your comments. And this is exactly the kind of feedback we need to improve. Well, with that, I suppose, oh, hello, David.
Hello, Craig.
How are you?
I'm in fine fettle. How about you?
Excellent. And before you start, let me just say that I want to correct a mistake I made last year. I was new, and you asked about the Hong Kong subsidiary, and I thought it wasn't a subsidiary. I was wrong. It is. It's not a profit center. It's just a way for us to employ people in Hong Kong, but I was wrong, and I apologize.
No apology is necessary. Actually, I will be adding to that same remark this year, and it was directed to Legal Counsel E. Michael O'Brien,
excellent.
Who last year clarified for me how it is that the Airport Authority ended up with so many subsidiaries, of which the Hong Kong office is one, and then I find out this year he's created another one. Anyway, I want to start off this year on a very high note. The Assembly here is probably aware that the previous administrator and CEO, Larry Berg, provided excellent stewardship to the Vancouver Airport. I want to say today that Craig Richmond is a very lucky man. because he was handed an operation that was in excellent condition. And then, we all know Larry had a couple of tough years, particularly with the crisis that happened with terrorism. And then there was the difficult period in Asia where there was a downturn. And Larry had a couple of tough years here at the airport where things were shrinking. And Craig's just had a stellar year where he's been able to stand up in front of this assembly and tell you that passengers have increased, cargo has increased, concessions have increased, and his profit has increased. You're one lucky guy, Craig. I mean, you've got it all.
I think we agree, and we could stop there if you'd like.
No, thanks. We're not finished yet. I don't think I introduced myself properly. My name is David Varnes. I'm the Secretary-Treasurer of the Machinists Union. We have almost 1,500 people who work actively in the either at the Vancouver Airport or in its surrounding land areas. We're part of that 26,000 person group that Craig speaks so proudly about. We are also partners in this process. And I have been keeping an eye on the Vancouver Airport Operating Authority since its inception. So having said that, I wanted to pass along a very nice thank you and remark to Anne and her team. I am the only one in this room, other than I think Mel Goodwin and there's a few other older board members here, who has read every annual report since 1993. And I'd like to compliment Anne on this year's report. It was clean, it was easily readable, it was well formatted, and she managed to hide all the footnotes, which is where I usually find the stuff that I want to talk about.
Well done.
Well done,
Anne.
Absolutely. Let's get down to some of the meat of the issues for this year. Having read the report, and having already mentioned that E. Michaels created another subsidiary for you guys, which is called Vancouver Airport Property Management. And I just wanted to make sure that I understood what that entails. And maybe I'll just ask you directly, either E. Michael or yourself, Craig, which buildings are these?
They are two sets of buildings. The people that owned the leases on those buildings where they were coming up to the end of their leases. It's the ones that you might call Cargo Village, south of Miller Road, all of those.
Over on this side over here.
And all the ones at the junction of Russ Baker Way and the little bridge there where the McDonald's is.
Oh, so you're telling me you own a McDonald's now?
We have the lease there.
Okay, and does that include the MTU buildings?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you. That makes that a little more clear. Managing aircraft noise, that's page 36 on the annual report. I enjoyed the statistics. I see that aircraft noise is down, but the people who report it are more active than they were last year. I think the more interesting statistic was that 67% of the 2014 complaints came from 3 individuals. They must have a lot of time on their hands.
I'm unhappy that they're unhappy.
Just returning to the airport property management corporation or company or subsidiary, is it the intent of the airport authority to further develop those lands or simply become the landlord?
No, it's a great question. We saw an opportunity when they wanted to sell. Actually, they're they're profit making, and so we actually were able to set up a subsidiary. The reason we did it is the bank said that's a profitable enough enterprise on its own. We'll loan you money off the books of YVR. So this doesn't have to show up in our budgets. It's a pure subsidiary, and their job is to get close to the people that work cargo, you know, all the freight forwarders, everybody down there, customs, and make that work better. And also strategically now, because we have that land or all the area and the buildings there, we may look at you know, building new facilities. Some of the facilities are pretty old. Perhaps we could get into building a new cargo customs area. So the plan is to actively manage cargo to grow the cargo business.
Thank you. On the annual report, page 65, dealing with executive compensation, the review process describes executive compensation. I won't go into that, but it says, in addition to the programs described above, the executives participate in standard health, retirement, and prerequisite programs. What is a prerequisite program for an executive?
Standard things that executives get that would be things like car allowances and such.
Ah, okay, thank you. Gee, this is probably a Glenn McCoy question, but maybe you can field it.
I think you've
Craig?
already answered that second part.
Foreign exchange gains, almost $400,000 in foreign exchange. What kind of foreign exchange are you guys holding?
I'll invite Glenn, the CFO, to answer that one.
David, I thought you would have lent your sunglasses to Craig earlier when the sun was blinding him up here. Foreign exchange comes from two sources. One is our holdings of US dollars, and the second is related to that is the kiosk business. So all those airports that we sold kiosks to in the US, we get US dollar denominated transactions and cash out of that. So given the movement in the Canadian dollar.
Thank you. Craig, on the unaudited, non-consolidated financial statements on page 8, there's a write-off of $51,000 for specific accounts. It's under subsection B on doubtful accounts. Who did we write off?
David, we assess our accounts every year. I think we've had this question before. We don't reveal individual accounts, but we're looking item by item, account by account, and there's an allowance that's made. And you can see it's a very small amount of money against the $465 million of revenue.
Okay.
Don't go anywhere.
Yeah. For the first time on the non-audited, non-consolidated financial statements, we're paying $66,000 to the U.S. government. I haven't seen that entry on the consolidated statements until this year. What are we paying the U.S. government for?
It would be tax related to sale of APC kiosks into the U.S. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now we're back to Craig again.
Should I stay?
You can sit down. Yeah.
Thank you, Glenn.
Last year, we're going back to last year's question. Last year, we talked about sewers. Remember the sewer question?
I do.
Yes, and I know that there was a really pained look on Don Ershol's face when we talked about it. What is the update on the sewer situation?
Well, I think I'll call Don up. I know we had a bad situation under the C pier. We've gone in to repair it. Don, you want to give a little update?
David, yes, we did have a series of blockages. We were able last summer to send cameras down the lines. We identified several locations that needed a major repair. We did go down and dig those up and did the repairs. And believe we have now permanently corrected the problem. We do have another project to do some further sewer upgrades in other parts of Pier C. So that for the long term, all of the sewer lines in the whole pier are renewed.
Okay, thank you. One more thing.
Sure.
What are you doing about the rat problem in the ceiling of the C piers?
Well, as you know, we're in a port city. You know, I've been around YVR for 20 years, and the rats seem to follow a cycle all over Vancouver. Into the fall of last year and the spring of this year, everybody was having a rat problem. We spent a lot of money on experts and on eradicators to try and solve it. Single biggest thing that everybody can do is not leave food out, whatever your food areas or food preparation areas, or for the food and beverage people to make sure they lock their food away. It's something that we wrestle with. It seems to pop up every 3 or 4 years. If you have any ideas, if you hear of any ideas to control it better than we are, we'd love to hear them.
Sorry, I don't have a rat problem, so I can't help you. Craig, that's it. Thank you very much. I much appreciated the time, and I appreciated the answers. Thank you again.
Oh, we have a new thing. Sorry, Richard. We'd like to throw up. We actually got some questions on social media. So did you want to throw them up there? Oh, I can read them down here. So there are some beautiful works of art in the YVR airport. Did you purchase them, or were they donated? No, we purchased them all. In fact, we commission a lot of art for the terminal. I'd like to know if YVR would be willing to work with local spotters to create permanent viewing locations around the field perimeter. Yes, we would. So Mr. Matthews, not Mike Matthews, see him in the audience, but Leighton Matthews, please give us a call, and we'd like to talk about that. I think there's a lot of value in something like that. People love to look at the airplanes. The third one, we realize there's a long-term plan for YVR. Okay, same question. A view over the fence, like it. Is that it?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, a couple more. Oh, ask YVR CEO why security screening wait times are so long. You know, I'm not trying to deflect the question. Of course, we don't do security screening. It's a federal government agency, CATSA, that does it. I think the managers and staff here are doing a great job. I think we all realize they weren't getting enough money. We've been working with the federal government to fix that. And in fact, we have a program with some new technology we're trialing at the International Screening Point this summer that hopefully will really improve this. We agree it causes needless stress. We'd like to fix it.
One more question, please.
Ma'am.
I guess you didn't see me standing here.
Sorry, is that it for the social media questions? Okay, we'll do them later. Okay, please.
Okay, my name is Judy Williams, and I'm the co-chair of the Fraser River Coalition and the president of the Shore Spawners Alliance of British Columbia. I think this airport is one of the most beautiful airports I have ever been in anywhere in the world, and I've traveled extensively. It's good to see David Grigg again. It also has some very beautiful artwork, and I was the last pilot from Pacific Flying Club to take a plane out of here when we moved to Delta. Having said all of that, given the fact that we had a bunker fuel spill in English Bay, and we just had another spill, even though it was only 25 gallons, I think 25 gallons, in a sunken fishing boat at Shelter Island, which went all the way to the Massey Tunnel, I would hope that the airport would reconsider the location or the transportation and location of 80 million liters of jet fuel through the Vancouver Airport Fuel Facilities Corporation, because if we were to sit down, stakeholders, airport, VAFFC, I'm sure we could come together with a better plan than relocating or locating jet fuel so close to the Fraser River, which is a major migratory flyway, and I rest my case there. We're very concerned about this. Those were only minor spills. What in God's name are we going to do if there's a major disaster, very few firefighting facilities on a rush hour, God forbid, in the tunnel? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you first for your kind words. I actually think that praise should go back to the original board and the original management team who came up with the idea of having a look and feel of the West Coast, and we just continue with that. And yes, it is very beautiful. As far as the fuel goes, just a couple of points, and again, I'm not trying to duck this, but the Vancouver, the VFFC, which is the fuel consortium, that's not run by us. That's actually a private entity that is run by the airlines. Having said that, we would hold them to extremely high standard when they come onto our island, and we would ensure that they have built properly and that they are ready to respond. I would note that their entire plan, the environmental impact was approved by the province, but I do agree with you that I think we should sit down and talk about it, because I agree there are issues, and what I don't want to see is 200 tanker trucks up Highway 99. I don't think that's safe either. So. I agree with you. I think that we are pushing to have a consultation process, a consultation committee with the VFFC. Oh, another one from, are there any talks of anyone bringing an A380 to YVR? Are we even big enough to warrant service by an aircraft of that size? It's a good question. We are actually able to take it. We have a couple of gates that have double bridges. We have de-icing pad. Our runways and taxiways can take the aircraft. It's possible that an airline that might have 2 aircraft might want to combine to an A380. That is possible, to Europe or perhaps to Asia. I think what you're going to see at YVR, this is just me, I think you're going to see a lot of the big twins, the twin engine aircraft. They're so much more fuel efficient. The 787, all variants, A350, and the 777, I think that's really going to be the wave of the future here at YVR. One more? Why doesn't YVR actively lobby Canada's federal government to allow Emirates landing rights at our airport? We do. The community at large would benefit from the economic spin-offs of Emirates route to YVR. Absolutely agree. Emirates does not have the bilateral rights to fly to Vancouver. We have talked about that. It's not the only airline we're going after. We actually have our sights set on a lot of other airlines. We'd like to have Emirates here. I note that they are now flying double daily to Seattle. Why is YVR pursuing the strategy? I guess the strategy is the transit without visa and connecting, that Dallas is already in the market and Emirates out ahead are carrying more and more passengers from China. Well, you make my case. This airport was actually designed and built in 1996 for transiting passengers, and it's designed to do that. But airports in the U.S. have awoken to the fact that they could do this, and the mayor of Dallas a couple of years ago said, we want to be the gateway to the Americas for Asia. So we have this great advantage. We have a geographical advantage. We have a terminal ready to go. If we don't take advantage of it, somebody else will. But I think we can compete with Dallas because we have a better airport. Okay. Any other questions? Sir. Oh, 2 sirs. Richard, you were first.
Just a couple of quick questions. My name is Richard Cook, resident of Richmond. At one time, we had YVR as the X center of flights from the South Pacific to Europe, with YVR being X in the center. We also had flights from Asia to South America. Is there any talks going on or negotiations going on to get back to Lima, Peru, or Santiago, Chile, Buenos Aires, and connect with Vancouver over to Asia?
Absolutely. In fact, it was Canadian Airlines used to have a Santiago, Asia route, and we just want to bring that back. It will require this transit without visa international to international destinations, which the government has to approve. I can tell you I've been working very hard on that for the past 20 years, but really hard in the past couple of years, so we're hopeful, and we've had indications from airlines they're ready to fly it if we can get the rights.
Okay, thank you. Airbus recently said that airports could use drones, that dreaded word, to handle wildlife problems. Any thought given to that?
Well, I think that there is a place for drones in society. I don't think at this point in their technology I want them anywhere near the airport. But I can certainly, I'm not ruling it out in the future once they've demonstrated that they are absolutely safe and, and can't possibly pose a risk to flight safety. We'll examine it. We'll continue to watch.
Now, 2010, the Olympics, we had bollards outside the International Terminal building, cleverly disguised as blocks of cement or flower pots to prevent cars from coming into the building. But we don't have that on domestic level 2 or domestic level 1, and I'd hate to see that happen as it did in Glasgow Airport, where the car went right through the building. Can someone look at that?
It's an interesting point. We'll think about it. It's all about threat risk assessments, but I take your point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Sir.
My name is Ralph D'Souza. My $1.49 watch tells me that I have to speed up. So I just want to thank you, Mr. Craig Richmond, for the excellent job you've been doing, and also your presentation was extremely interesting and innovative. I have a simple, friendly suggestion to make regarding Templeton Station. There's lots of people who work at YVR, including green coats, and I'm one of them. You may or may not recognize me when I'm in plain clothes.
Now you're undercover. You're an undercover green coat.
And there's also many airline crews that use Templeton. So my suggestion is, and I must confess, I'm unaware of the logistics and the cost factor, but if we could introduce a special buggy that you park just outside the station, and you take it all the way, and you have to insert a loonie so that people will not be leaving it all over the place. Because I see, whenever I come here to work, there's different groups of workers, and we live in this monsoon country, so you see them hauling rain gear and summer outfit and work boots and all the other tools, and it would be really nice to think of this and do something. And now, in a couple of minutes, I am a 39-year airline employee. Right now, I'm a certified volunteer caretaker and caregiver for Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and dementia. And I was also a union rep for 28 years, and I attended BC Federation of Labor every year, and I've been on many committees, and also the CLC and so on. So I don't want to bore you and waste time in this, but thank you, and I hope you will consider my suggestion.
Thank you very much. I think we'll look at something. Perhaps we can look at some kind of rain cover. I have some worries about a buggy that could be driven away very quickly, but certainly your concerns are noted, and I'd like you to check back with me, and we'll think up some ideas and see if there's something we can do. Thank you. Anyone else? Mel, did you want to ask a question? No?
You must be able to read my mind. 14 years ago, we looked into improving transportation between the domestic terminal and the main terminal. And I'm wondering if anything is being done. As we mentioned about the rest of British Columbia, we have to remember the small towns that fly people in and out of the domestic terminal. And there was, we were working on a system whereby those people could get back and forth conveniently, but we were unable to extend the road, et cetera. So cars have to go all the way down and all the way around. And I just wondered, is anything else being trying to be developed so that we can increase access to both airports?
Well, I was just down at the South Terminal last week, this week, talking down there. There's a shuttle bus. What really made the shuttle bus not as efficient, of course, was 9/11. We used to be able to drive inside the perimeter of the airport, and it cut 10 minutes off the drive. Now it has to come outside. So we actually subsidize that bus because it wouldn't make enough money, but we're always working with them to tweak, because of course we know exactly when passengers are arriving there. So it's a very good question. I'll take a look at it. Any further questions? Thank you very much.
Well, I'll just get the last word to say thank you very much to everyone for coming. We really appreciate your interest and hope everyone has a great evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Marie.